Welcome back to RBG Gold Rush. We have an excellent stream of struggling coming up here, and I want to read a donation we got real quick. We got $30 from Red. No message, but thank you so much, Red, for that $30. Sparky, take it away.
All right, I am Sparky McCalc. Feel free to call me Sparky. You guys are in for a treat. I'm very excited to close out day one of RBG Gold Rush, and I think this is the perfect game to either put you guys to sleep very quickly because you will be scared of it, or to help you stay awake if that's your goal here. But yeah, this is struggling. This is a really fantastic platformer that you'll see, and I'll explain everything as we're going on. I'll have a lot to talk about as we go. But I'm going to be playing obviously by myself, and here comes the timer. And then, like I said, I will explain everything as we go on. But I'm super excited about this, and I hope you guys are as excited as I am. But here comes the timer. I'll do a countdown for you. I'll count down from 3. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So as I said, this is just a 2D platformer game. It's physics-based, so you'll be seeing a lot of gravity either helping us or hurting us in a lot of ways. I liken the movement of this game to something along the lines of like an Octodad. You play with a controller rather than mouse and keyboard. Each of the sticks of the controller controls one of the arms of our character right there, whose name is Troy. And so, like, the right stick will control the right arm, the left stick will control the left arm. I will be grabbing with the triggers as well. When you grab with the triggers, instead of controlling the arm, you actually control the head attached to that arm. But the story of the game, because as you can tell, it already has some interesting art. But the story of the game is that way in the past, there once were these abominations who were considered heroes. These people who had like third arms and 4 legs or something like that. They looked really strange and they had like very interesting deformities. But yeah, they were called abominations, and they were revered as heroes. And then one day they all just kind of like disappeared because these false prophets started to take power, and they got rid of all these abominations, and the people prophesied of a hero, a duo of heroes named Hector and Achilles. They were brothers, and they were supposed to come and save the day, and it was supposed to be great. And they never came. But of course, they did come. It was just many hundreds of years later, and we are Hector and Achilles right now. Achilles is on the left, the blue arm with the 1 eye, and Hector is on the right with the orange arm with the 2 eyes. So that's the story of it. And so we, of course, get to control this abomination in the most interesting of ways. As I said, this is a physics-based game. So when possible, I will be traversing along the ceiling because gravity is our friend. We will use it to like kind of swing ourselves around everywhere. And it also helps us do a lot of stuff like this skip right here. This is one of the easiest skips we have. You probably didn't even notice it. It went by so fast on the left, but there was a button that you could press. It initiates the party mode of this sequence. And basically all that party mode does is it plays bumpin' party music and drops deadly spikes from the ceiling. It also plays a 10-second cutscene, and so it wastes time, it makes our lives harder, but it gives us some awesome music. But of course we skip it because 10 seconds and making our lives harder is everything we want to avoid in a speedrun, as we all know. So this game is broken down into 4 kind of quote-unquote major parts. The first of which we are in right now, of course, because it's the first part of the game. And this first part is called Lab, because it is a lab, and I am supposed to get in this elevator, but I, of course, just closed myself out on accident. And so we are kind of like a test tube abomination, which is why we are now escaping. This is the second of the quote-unquote skips. The first one was that party button. The second one is there. We just break the elevator and shoot through the ceiling and launch ourselves way up. So there's no real like crazy glitches or anything. Obviously, the category is glitchless, so there wouldn't be any glitches. But the big like strategy for speedrunning this game is really just not dying is the biggest thing, which I know like sounds kind of like elementary. It's like, well, of course you don't want to die in a speedrun. That would defeat the purpose. But if you'll notice when I'm going through, it is very easy to die in many places. And so basically our big goal for the speedrun is to just not die, which I usually do a pretty good job of on any given speedrun. And you know that not dying is a hard thing in a game like this when one of the achievements that you can earn is to play through the entire game without dying a single time. You may be surprised to learn that I still have not earned that achievement at all. I'm kind of embarrassed to say. I have almost 130 hours in this game, which I know pales in comparison to most people and their hours in a game that they speedrun. But even with 130 hours in this game, which I am going to confidently guess is more than anybody else has played this game, I still do not have the achievement where you don't die. So right here, I'm going to do one of my favorite kind of quote-unquote skips. What you're normally supposed to do in this section is fall to the ground and traverse a bunch of boxes. But instead, we just very carefully and actually, that's actually a lot more difficult than it looks. We are just going to go on the ceiling because, again, like I said at the very beginning, gravity is our friend, and the ceiling is our best place to absolutely traverse. So we do that. We just avoid those spikies that are there. And this is the first instance of the game where we get a taste of kind of what like the whole character of the game is like. This game goes through a lot of different kind of play styles and genres and such. It will be all over the place. It will not really stick to one theme or one play style besides wiggling arms and traversing gaps and not dying. But besides that, there's a lot of different things that we can do, like this, which is a giant magnet that we're supposed to take each of those big metal things and like stick them in the acid and create bridges over the acid. But instead we just get those out of the way of the pipe. We use the magnet as a big swing, and of course we go to the ceiling, which I will always say we like to do. And that completes the first section of lab. As I said before, there are 4 sections of this game. The first one is the lab. The second one is where we're at right now, which is called just cave. And each section is broken up into smaller sections. One of the perks, not really perks actually, one of the downsides of speedrunning this game is that I actually don't really know the names of the sections because I am not really paying attention to that part of the screen. But if you are interested in knowing the names of them, they do appear in the top right. So it'll be like cave 1, cave 2, cave 3, and so on and so forth. They kind of break it up into smaller sections. So this is cave. This is the second shortest section of the run. Lab is the shortest by far, and we actually had a very good lab. We like to try to get through the lab in under 7 minutes, which we did, of course, which is awesome. And so now we're just kind of getting through this like weird random cave of acid and other things. So very soon we will be coming up to our first boss. You might think, wow, there are bosses in this game. Kind of, but not really. They're not really like bosses per se. It's not like we have to defeat them. But we do have to obviously complete a task to get through the part that they are a part of. And so any like major section that comes up, usually at the end of sections like the cave, the lab doesn't have a boss that I call a boss. I call those bosses because it makes things sound more exciting. I forgot to explain those things right there that I just passed through that hole. Those are checkpoints. And if you're watching this, thinking to yourself, wow, those checkpoints are very, very close to each other. Yes, but also it's really, really nice when you play this game casually. The first time I played this game on my own, I think it took me about 6 or 7 hours to play through the whole game. And there are a lot of different spots that I died many, many times. And there's one spot in particular that I will definitely bring up when we get there that took me longer than I would like, and longer than it's going to take me now. So now this is our first boss, who is Amadeus. It's kind of like a grotesque pinball that we're gonna do. Rather than controlling Troy and his arms, we're gonna be controlling. You can see that blue arm, kind of like, again, like pinball flippers, and we're gonna be trying to throw Troy's head at these like pus balls of, I don't know, black and green weirdness. If you have any, there's really no craziness that happens here, except for I'm just going to be trying to aim for it. There's nothing really crazy to explain. So if there happen to be any more donations, I know it's only been about 10 minutes or so. This would be a good time to read any, or if you just want to exclaim your surprise at how weird this game is, that works too.
I mean, it definitely is impressively weird. And I'm absolutely loving these designs here. It definitely reminds me a bit of QWOP. It seems like tighter controls.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely it's one of those games. Like I said, I kind of liken it to Octodad. It's a game where it's hard to control, but once you know how to do it, it's pretty easy to control.
And I will take this time to remind everybody that we're raising money for RAD, or Rise Above the Disorder, which is helping to break down the barriers that keep people from getting mental health care, of accessibility and also financial burden. So if you can give, type !donate in chat, and I'll take you to a link where you can give to this great charity.
So like I said, there's really no like crazy tech or anything that we do during this. It's just kind of, I go on what I think is a good route, and sometimes it works really well. There's a little bit of luck involved with this, not necessarily RNG, but sometimes if you notice the way that like Troy's head bounces off of the eyeballs. Sometimes they bounce really powerfully, sometimes it doesn't. So that can kind of dictate whether that section goes really well or not. That was actually a pretty decent Amadeus fight. I can usually tell based off of some audio cues there, the way the music is. And that's one thing that I like to note about this game too, is I personally think that the music in this game is absolutely fantastic. I think it obviously fits the theme very well, but also the songs are just very enjoyable, which I think is very funny for a speed run, because we're speeding through most of the game. We don't actually get to enjoy the full length of a lot of the better songs, the more substantial songs, because there are a few parts where, like that Amadeus fight, where there's a pretty obvious song that's going on, and we just kind of just end it early. So what we've gotten from the Amadeus fight is our first abomination god power, and what this allows us to do is, you saw me do it a little bit right away, but we can now detach our arms and essentially move them independently. And that's going to let us obviously get through a few different parts. When we detach our arms, we are also able to attach them to those like mouth things. I'm not really sure what they're called. Nodes, I guess. And so this is going to be a power that we use a heck of a lot. There are two powers that we're going to get. And actually, I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek a little bit today, and I'll explain that when we get to the second one. But there are two powers that you would get while playing Struggling. The first one, of course, is this one, the remote arms, and the second one is going to come a little bit later, and I'll explain it when we get there. But this is a perfect opportunity right here. So obviously I have to control both arms independently of one another, which is always fun. This game is more or less intended to be a co-op game, if you could believe it, where one person, or well, I guess two people will play, obviously, co-op, but each person controls just a single arm of Troy. And I will say that it is not as stressful as it sounds, even though it. Oh, geez, I got a little stuck there at the bottom. It's not as stressful as it sounds, though it is a little bit stressful. My first experience with the game was actually co-op. We got to about here, maybe a little bit further, and we just couldn't take it anymore from there. But then I was like, man, this game is awesome. I played it by myself, and then here I am playing it about as fast as any one person can, has, or will. One good thing, I know the schedule is a little bit behind. Obviously, we all kind of know that. But the good thing is, I have given an estimate of 1 hour and 10. But some awesome things have turned up this week for this game, and I'll explain them when we get there. And it's probably going to be closer to actually an hour, if you can believe that. That much of a time save. I remember when I gave the estimate, that was a few weeks ago when the game was not really in its infancy, but we were still working out a few things. We were all still kind of getting our sea legs going for really doing some bigger runs.
Definitely
so that's
an
one
involving
positive thing.
game then. That's exciting.
Yes, definitely. And that's one thing that I've been hoping to do with these marathon kind of showcases of this game is I'm hoping to get some more people at least playing the game and just seeing what it's about, because it really is a unique game, and I know there are people out there who would enjoy it, who probably just haven't gotten to see it on their own yet. And of course, we all love our own speedrunning community for our games, and I love our community that we have for struggling as well. And I just, I think like everybody, I wish it was bigger. So I highly suggest, if you are interested in this game at all, that speedrunning it is not too far behind you getting to learn it, because it is a smaller community. There are only I think there are 4 people on the leaderboards at all. So it's a pretty tight knit clan there, and we'd love to have you, and you could be in the top 5 right away with your first run, even if it was a 6-hour run. And like I said, it's one of those games that the first time you play it, you kind of get confused about the controls, but after that, you kind of get used to them, and then you get to do all the fun stuff. And we've already found pretty much all the skips and time saves, so you don't really have to do any hunting. All you have to do is just kind of follow the path that we've paved the way. So this section of the cave is full of those gears that the game calls the mechanical bone crushers. There are a few spots where we have to use rocks to break them so we can progress. If you really like goats, I encourage you to look away in about 40 minutes, because we are going to be saying goodbye to one of our goat friends here. So I know it's very sad. I'm sorry about that. Here's another part where it would be fantastic to have a co-op partner to move the individual arms one at a time, rather than having to control both on my own.
I'm just gonna say, in memoriam for the goat, if somebody wanted to do a memorial donation.
Yes, goat memorial donation would be awesome, because here comes the goat getting treated in a way we don't like to treat goats. So F and chat for that goat there. And yeah, somebody throw, you know, $5, $1 even for the goat. And I will be doing what I like to do when I do charity marathons such as this. And I will be, if anybody wants to join me, I will be donating $1 for each of my deaths, which obviously for the speedrun's sake, I hope is not a lot. But for the charity's sake, I hope is, you know, we already have one. So there's at least $1. So if anybody wants to join me for that, you can do 50 cents or whatever you want. And I will give you the death total at the very end, so we can you know. Oh geez, oh, that doesn't usually happen. Okay, let's try this again. I like to double stack these because again we want to stay on the ceiling, and it's a lot easier to. There we go. That's what we like to do. It's a lot easier to get that plug in just from the ceiling there, but you kind of have to double stack it. Here we go, creating another one of those arm ropes. That's a technique we're going to use a lot throughout the run. That arm rope technique, it'll happen in a lot of different sections of the run, and it's something that we kind of have to have a good grasp on because those are sections where it's very easy to die. So we're coming up to the end of the cave section here, and the second kind of boss. It's the Rat King, but we don't actually fight the Rat King. I just call it the Rat King boss because he appears. There was a section of the run where I jumped across a gap on the ceiling past a pipe. I didn't mention it at the time, but if you go in that pipe, you can go see the Rat King and steal his crown. One of the best parts about this game is that there are a bunch of hidden hats all over the place, and his crown that he's wearing right now is one of those hats. But this is another kind of extension of that grotesque pinball that happened in the Amadeus section, and we're just going to kind of be trying to get out of the cave as fast as we can. And that is, oh my gosh, this is one part that likes to cause me trouble and already is causing me so much trouble and pain. Okay, that was a very bad start. But if there are any, if you have any questions or anything, this is a.
Yeah, I've got a donation here.
Oh, perfect.
Equate donates $20 and says, "This game looks like me when I don't have my coffee." I can definitely feel that. I was just thinking that the art style of this game looks a lot like 90s Nick animation, like a Ren and Stimpy almost.
Yeah, it is a little bit like that. Yeah, there's certainly some parts of the game that people enjoy that other people don't, like the art style. I mean, the style of the art itself is fantastic, whether you like the theme of it or not. I think the art itself is great, and actually the fan art that exists in this game. It's a very active Discord for the developers. Chasing Rats, who makes this game, is the Discord that we use for the speedrun where everything's housed. But there's actually a very surprising amount of fan art for this game and their other game that they're currently working on. So yeah, definitely the art style of this game is one that you have to at least appreciate, even if you don't love it. If you were somebody who wanted to donate for that poor goat back there, you can tack on another one right here. I'm sorry I don't make the decisions, but sometimes goats, they have to.
I feel like somebody needs to go through and just name all the goats that get sacrificed, so the emotional attachment is there even more.
Yes. Yeah. We need to get some pathos going on here and convince people. If we name the goats, it would definitely work a lot better. I think those are the only two goats that perish throughout this run. Which, again, if you like goats, that's good news for you. So now
I love goat. It's delicious.
I don't think I've ever eaten goat. But now we are in our third section here. Like I said, that was the end of our cave section. So this is our canyon section, which, like I said before, this game kind of goes all over the place. The first two sections, I don't know. They more or less make sense to me, at least in the theme of this game, where we're escaping a lab and then we're in this weird cave where experiments could be happening. But of course, the third section is just a Wild West section, which makes perfect sense after those two. And it only gets weirder from here on out. So grab your popcorn and buckle in for a wild ride.
I feel like weird is what everybody wants at nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. I think we're all in that weird headspace already.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think this is the perfect run for those of you who are still up at this time. This is kind of the stuff that like you would end up if you were on YouTube this late. This is the stuff that like would just end up on your feed randomly anyway. So I'm just giving it to you live and as fast as I can and with some awesome donations. And
I feel like the only thing we're missing is the hot tub at this point.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, sweet. Okay, I got that skip that is kind of a skip, but not really a skip, but it is a skip. So this section, this canyon section, introduces two new modes of getting around. One is the branches, and the other one is the signs. And so what I did there, that skip that I was just talking about, is okay. Let's see if I can get this. Okay. So what I essentially did there was that kind of short cutscene of the hiker falling, which just shows us what the hikers do. If we hold on to the hikers for too long, they fall down and they're very hard to traverse. But what I did was I just kind of skipped over that cutscene by being on the ceiling, and then I was able to go through, and I didn't have to wait for that one hiker that fell to get back up. So it saved about 4 or 5 seconds of waiting. Otherwise, I would have had to wait for him to come back and then continue on. That section that I just passed, not literally just passed, but a little bit ago with that long rope, that was the section I was talking about earlier, where there are parts of this game that took me a lot longer than I would like to admit. But I think that section, when I first played the game, probably took me just that section alone, just that rope. I mean, that's it. Just the rope, nothing else around there. Just getting past the rope, I think, took me about 40 minutes just to get through. And you just saw me fly through it in about 6 seconds. So if that tells you the kind of, easy to learn, hard to master type of controls that this game is, then that's that. We just got through that section really cleanly with those signs. Those signs can be kind of finicky because you'll notice that the hands can occasionally grab onto things, especially things like those signs, in really weird ways. So you'll sometimes end up grabbing those signs at an awkward angle, and the momentum that you get from spinning around on them is not ideal at all. Another thing that this canyon section introduces is those geysers, which we have just passed 2 of. The geysers are one of my points of frustration in speedruns. They are very helpful, obviously, because they get us to where we need to go, but they are very frustrating because they sometimes don't shoot us exactly how we expect them to and how they shot us, the past 8 times we did runs. So you'll be seeing a lot more of the geysers, though. This section right here is one of the sections that you don't get to experience the full effect of the awesome music, but you do get to experience the, again, another interesting genre that happens, which reminds me of those Flash games where you're just on a bike trying to balance. If you have any donations, we got about 45 seconds or so, and I'm just going to kind of ride my dirt bike through here, listening to great guitar.
No, I'm just gonna shout out our wonderful hosts here. RBG Esports is a brand new up-and-coming esports team founded in 2018. They have teams in Hearthstone, Counter-Strike, you name it. And if you would like to join the team, just type !Discord in the chat, and you can come on in and join.
Okay, so we got really lucky there. If you noticed, you saw my blue arm kind of clip into the dirt bike, which is very scary when it happens, because when that does happen, we lose our fine control over the way that the dirt bike tilts. So those front flips and back flips that I did, I wouldn't have chosen to do if it was up to me. So that geyser is the one geyser that is very frustrating. The best thing that could happen in that geyser is we would have gotten launched all the way up to where that checkpoint is. But of course, Marathon luck would have it, we got the worst possible launch from the geyser, and we ended up at the very bottom, and we had to fight our way up the geyser that's shooting straight down. So we gotta love that kind of stuff. The good thing about this game, I keep mentioning things like the geysers being frustrating. The good thing about this game is that there really isn't any actual like RNG that takes place. So you don't really lose runs to stuff that like is luck based, which is really, really nice. There's stuff that is kind of luck based, like I said in that Amadeus fight, but it doesn't break your run. It just kind of makes things a little bit slower. So there are no points in the run where we actually like lose a whole run just because something went unlucky. Obviously, we can lose record pace, but there's no point where it's like, okay, I can't progress any further because XYZ isn't giving me what I need. So that's one good thing about this run in general. So now the canyon is introducing us to these zip lines, which are very fun, but kind of scary, especially this section right here, because we have to launch ourselves from zip line to zip line, which, like I said, is very fun. But sometimes they do things like that where I did not let go of the zip line right there. We just went so fast that our hand just kind of fell off of the zip line, which is not what we want, because we want to hold on to the zip line. So coming up here shortly is a very new thing. And by a very new thing, I mean this was something that I actually was able to contribute to the speedrunning community. And I found it, I think, on Monday, or I might have found it over the weekend, but I implemented it into the very first speedrun that has it at all on Monday. And so what I'm about to do coming up here is what I have called Agamemnus skip. And I'll explain it either while I'm doing it or afterwards. We'll see how well I'm doing it. Normally what's coming up here is about a 3.5 minute cutscene. I say that in quotes because it's not really a cutscene. It's what we always dubbed the dating simulator, which unfortunately for runs now, for marathon runs, I can't show the dating simulator, which was one of the most interesting parts. What normally happens is you slide down there really quickly, and you run into this hand, which is the hand of Agamemnus, which is a 3-headed abomination. Grab on, please. Okay. And what we used to do was just go through the dating simulator because we had no way to actually skip it. But over the weekend, I thought, you know what? There's got to be a way to skip it. So instead, we do that now, which there's an invisible encounter plane. You saw me walking up that in a very interesting fashion. Any other vertical wall that I would walk up, I would just do like the rotatey kind of interesting thing. I'd just, flip myself around, and that would be that. But the way that encounter plane is set up with that hand, the encounter plane is actually in front of it. It's not like a part of the invisible wall. It's actually like a separate entity. And so it takes up a little bit of space. And so we have to like shimmy up it with like those like weird straight arms to the side. And it's kind of difficult to do, especially the first time you do it. When I did it for the first time, it took me about 30 tries just to get all the way up and around. But then once you throw yourself up, you skip that whole section, and it saves about 3.5 minutes. But what it does is it makes our life for the rest of the game, not the rest of the game, but the rest of this section, which is still the canyon section. Even though this looks like a totally different section, this is still the canyon section. What it does is it makes our life for the rest of this canyon section very difficult, because what you would normally get after completing the dating simulator with Agamemnus, which is why, of course, I called it Agamemnus Skip, you would get what's called the time alteration power. And what the time alteration power does is it slows down time. And you'd go through this whole tutorial, and it would be awesome, and it would teach you how to play the game and everything. But essentially, you can slow down time, and what that allows you to do is two things. It allows you to grab onto those large spears very easily and ride them. Of course, I won't be doing that because I don't have it. And you are also able to actually grab these little arrows out of the air and kind of get them out of the way so they don't kill you. And so basically what Agamemnus Skip does is it makes us do this whole section without the time alteration power, which is very hard because this whole section was designed with the time alteration power in mind. So I have to grab this spear right now without slowing it down. The good thing is, one of our big runners in the community, Joda, he actually found this particular method, what I just did there. He found that before I found Agamemnus Skip. He was like, hey, I found a quicker way to get through this arrow section. You can just fling yourself up with one arm. And then after I found Agamemnus Skip, I was like, oh my goodness, that's perfect. So like I said, Agamemnus Skip makes things like this really hard because normally you would just slow down all of these spears. Oh no, dying there hurts a lot. But that's another $1 for the donation, so for the charity.
We got a second for a donation?
Sure, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, Randomize donates $10 and says, hee 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 hee. We are currently at $666.66.
Very nice, Randomize. Very, very clever of you. So like I said, this section is incredibly hard without time alteration. When I first found Agamemnus Skip, right away I was like, oh my gosh, I've skipped Agamemnus. I did it. I found the skip. And then right after that, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do all of the next section without time alteration. Is it possible? And so I had to spend the next hour or two just figuring out if all of this section was even possible without time alteration, which of course it is. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done the skip at all. I do apologize. I must apologize for the very annoying loop of intense music that is happening. That is the biggest downfall of doing Agamemnus Skip. When you approach Agamemnus's hand, this intense music starts to play. For whatever reason, it doesn't go away when you do Agamemnus Skip, even if you go into the checkpoint. The only way to make it disappear entirely is if I would have to exit out of the game and get back in, which I could do. But because I feel like this could be a record pace run, I'm gonna save the 10 seconds and try to give this marathon a world record instead of saving your ears. So when your ears are suffering, just know I did it for the W.
I think it definitely fits the 666 donation total.
Yeah, and that it does. There we go. Yeah, we'll keep it at that. So what I just did there actually was the absolute hardest part of the run. Now that Agamemnus Skip has been introduced, that part where I was jumping over the arrow, I'll explain kind of what I was doing there. So normally, like I said, with time alteration, you can just grab those small arrows and just kind of pull them out of the way. Obviously, we do not have time alteration. Unlike the fact that we can grab spears in regular time, in regular speed, we cannot grab the small arrows in regular speed, we have to have time alteration. We have to be slow-mo in order to grab those arrows. That particular arrow back there that I passed, that I was kind of jumping over, is just high enough that it's very hard to jump over, and just low enough that we can't just let it go over our head. And so what I have to do there is have totally straight arms to jump over it, because you have to be tall enough. Like I have to be about that tall at least, and I have to jump over that arrow. But the interesting thing about it is, you saw me, maybe you noticed it, maybe you didn't. When I jumped over the arrow, my arms disappeared like when I was jumping over them. So you've probably seen me do it throughout the run. One thing that you can do, and you kind of have to do sometimes, is regenerating your arms. It basically just gets rid of your arm and grows it back. Obviously, we all know what regenerating means, but that's, for those of you who didn't, that's what it does. So that section, if you just let the arrow go under you, which you could do when you're standing up straight and tall on your arms, if you just let the arrow go under you, it will, it will kill your arms, and your arms will eventually grow back. Now, that takes a few seconds. It just so happens that it takes almost as many seconds for that to happen as it does for another arrow to shoot, and so it takes a lot longer of a time. So what I was doing there was I was straightening my arms, tossing myself over the arrow, and just before the arrow would normally hit my arms, I was regenerating them on my own, because when you regenerate your arms on your own, they instantly regenerate. So that's why that section is very hard, because you can either get hit by the arrow with your arms and then it'll mess things up. Sometimes what'll happen is the arms will regenerate in a wacky fashion, and then you have to regenerate them, and the setup is difficult. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong in that arrow section, but we got through it very quickly. And yeah, that's basically what was happening in that arrow section. So this is the end of Canyon. We get this nice plume of mushroom gases, which triggers the trippiest section, which is called Buzz. And I'm not sure exactly what the canon is for this section, but most people agree that those mushrooms were mushrooms, and we're hallucinating now, and Troy is going through this weird spell of hallucinations, and it's things are gonna get weird. This is the third and final section, is what's called the Buzz section, and so we start with the magical fungi kingdom, which is good fun. This is the section, this Buzz section, that goes through the most changes and kind of genre shifts. And so this first one introduces these pink clouds, which basically just let us float around. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. That's okay. We'll live. So basically what the pink clouds do is they just let us float instead of having to grab onto anything, which we will see in the later sections. But I hope you're ready for 6 different games for the last 15 minutes of this run, because it's about to get just kind of crazy with Troy hallucinating on whatever mushroom gases there were.
Yeah, don't do drugs, kids.
Yes, don't do drugs, because you will turn into a floating head.
Also, if there are any kids watching at 3 a.m., where the heck are your parents?
Probably also watching this at 3 a.m. if they're watching. If the kids are watching, I'm sure that the parents are also watching.
Bug your parents to donate. Let us know where the irresponsible parents are in the audience, please.
So that checkpoint that I just skipped is one that we definitely want to skip, because it's not actually a real checkpoint. You learn that the hard way when you play this game for the first time casually. Sorry, spoilers if you planned on playing this on your own. It is an achievement, though, so if you do play this for the first time, go in there and get the achievement. But basically, you enter that thinking it is a nice, innocent checkpoint, and of course, you get sent back to the beginning of this section of Buzz. and it's painful. The first time you do it, it's evil. But that's the kind of like humor that's in this game too, and that's another thing that we miss with this run. Here is the first time I will actually use time alteration on my own. Hooray! Because that spear is kind of hard to grab. I don't remember what I was saying, but yeah. Oh yeah, the humor of this game. So there is some pretty great humor in this game, but that's another thing that we miss when doing speedruns is the humor of the game, because we skip. Well, one, we skip the dating simulator now that we do Agamemnus skip, and two, we just kind of blow through a lot of the dialogue and quote unquote dialogue. We blow through the beginning and such. So there's a lot that you kind of miss on the speedrun. So if this game is intriguing you in any way at all, and you have thought, wow, that game looks like something I might enjoy, I highly recommend you pick it up and experience all of this on your own. This is the basketball section, which, like I said, is like a totally different game. It is the shortest section of the game. We entered the door, we dunked the basketball, and we're out of here all in the span of about 50 seconds, which is fantastic.
And surprisingly, it was better than Space Jam 2.
It was better than the reboot of Space Jam, and they even called it. I don't know if you saw on the top right there. They called that literal Space Jam. So we love to see it. This is the Spider-Man section, friendly neighborhood flesh monster, of course, and this is our first introduction of the ducks. Just keep that in mind. I'm not gonna spoil anything. Just know that the ducks are. They play a pretty important role in this game.
Can we get a quack in chat?
Yeah, give us those quacks. If you're still up watching this at 3 in the morning, you can give a quack in the chat. The ducks are very evil, as you can see. They spit those, I don't know, throw-up balls. I don't really know what they actually are. But they, of course, will kill us. If those were to hit Troy's head, we would die and go back to the last checkpoint we got, which, of course, until right then, was the beginning of the level. I like to skip checkpoints because they take time. They take a few seconds to get into and out of. So when I feel like I'm confident enough, I will skip the checkpoints because it saves us some time. Although in marathons, I tend to take a few more checkpoints than I normally would, just in case anything were to happen. You know, just in case we die for some reason. No, like that. See, that was a very close one. But we call this section the Spider-Man section for obvious reasons. One, because it's called the friendly neighborhood flesh monster, which obviously is a nod to Spider-Man, and it's obviously a nod to Spider-Man because we're, climbing walls. Okay, so we're coming up to the end of the Spider-Man section, and a good section that would be a good section that would be a section that would be good for some donations if you have any, or if you have any questions, because I will just blab as much as I can. Yeah.
I definitely have to ask. So is the moral of this story don't skip leg day?
It's got to be something along those lines. Don't skip leg day. Don't do drugs. Take care of your body, kids, because things like this
is overall
will
a wellness warning, I think, at this point. Don't stay up until 3 a.m. watching Speed. Oh, oops, too late.
Yeah, that's too late for that one. This is one of the points of humor in the game. We're giving a speech. Normally we would be sitting on that box, but of course you can trigger that speech while moving through the encounter box, because you're supposed to scream when you do that. One thing that you can do in this game is you can kind of explode yourself. You scream and your head explodes, kind of like in real life, but you actually explode and go back to a checkpoint in the game.
You don't do that in real life?
I don't go back to a checkpoint, that's for sure. Life goes on when you do that in real life. But that's one thing you can do, and you're supposed to sit on the box and scream, and you give the speech. But you can kind of scream as you're going through it. One thing that I like to note about that, while I'm on the subject of screams and this game, one funny thing about this game, just like any other game that you'd play, well, ideally any other game, you can adjust the settings of the game. Hooray! And one of those settings that you can adjust is the audio settings, right? You have master volume and music volume and whatnot. There is an extra knob in struggling, and it is a knob just for the volume of the screams in this game. So if you want 100% screams, you can do that. What I will warn you, if you are choosing to do that on your own, for my 100th run of this game, I decided to turn off all the music and all the sound effects and just turn on screams. I called it my 100% screams for my 100th run. That was probably the most awkward hour of my life, because it was just screams, and they were loud and weird and awkward, and there was no other sound going on.
That sounds absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. It was everything you could possibly imagine and want it to be. So we've entered now probably my favorite section, which is called pre-alpha design. So of course we have sticky notes everywhere and such. But this section is kind of like a little bit of a puzzle in a way. That was some bad luck. It's hard to control like which mouth exactly each arm gets. So that's why I was saying it was bad luck. But I like this section because I feel like I move faster because of the like lower gravity that happens in this section. But also I'm a big puzzle fan. I like puzzle games and the like. So the fact that this part of it's a little puzzly more than other parts of the game, I think is entertaining. And so good old pre-alpha design. I also just like the fact that they included a section of the game that looks like it's unfinished and just called it pre-alpha design. I think that's hilarious. Another point of humor in this game that we don't really get to appreciate fully in the speedrun. Okay, come on. Okay. There we go. This is a skip that we also kind of recently discovered. Again, the speedrunning of the game is a little bit young. Normally we'd have to wait for the paperclip to go all the way, but instead we just ride that pencil right on over, and we're all good. No, grab onto the right one. Thank you. Okay, great. There we go.
So I gotta ask, how supportive have the devs been of this speedrunning community?
You know, it's actually funny you should ask. The devs are incredibly invested in the speedrunning of this game. There might be one or two in the chat. It was a little late for them to be around, but they are actually constantly following updates. They were once they realized it was possible, they were very excited and rooting for us and waiting for us to get a sub hour in the game, which happened only just on Monday. It was our first sub hour. I got a 59-minute run. So they are actually really, really supportive, and they love the speedrunning of this game. The last marathon I participated in with this game, they actually showed up for the run and were in the chat with everybody. So yeah, it's really cool. That's another part that I really like about speedrunning this game, is that the devs are, well, one, they're just awesome in general, but two, they really support the speedrunning that's happening. When I found Agamemnus skip, one of the devs replied, and they were like, you know, I gotta say, I was pretty sure that wasn't something that people would be able to skip, but they were very impressed, and they were like, you know what, more power to you, and they were pretty excited about it. So it's funny it's funny you asked that, because they are actually very supportive of it, and they're very excited when when we post updates on times, and when we're constantly improving the times. So remember those ducks I was talking about? Well, here we are facing the mighty metaphorical duck. Oh, that sometimes happens. We're trying to get on the right side of the foot. We're going to go up the back of the duck rather than the front, because just the routing of that is a little bit quicker. But it's really hard because the hitbox of that foot is a little bit bigger than it appears to be. So I'm going to try it again. And once you die, you get set up in a really weird way. The physics of this duck fight, as I call it, if you notice my arms are moving a little bit weirder, the physics of this duck fight are much different than the rest of the game. Not much different, but the movement is a little bit wackier. And the devs know this. They know that this level is different. I asked them one time, I was like, hey, is the physics of this part different? Because it feels a heck of a lot different. And they said, yeah, it's really hard to code something like this when it's essentially a two-dimensional Shadow of the Colossus fight that you can just grab onto this duck. And it really is a two-dimensional Shadow of the Colossus fight. We're climbing on this giant duck, and we're pushing in spears. We're not getting rid of like insignias that you would in Shadow of the Colossus, but we are pushing in spears, which is essentially the same idea. Every time we push in a spear, the duck's henchmen are going to come and try to mess with us. If those ducks hit us, of course, we die. Like that. Oh, that was really unfortunate, actually. That is usually not something that happens. Ah, okay. Well, there you go. Now you see I wasn't just lying and making things up. If the ducks hit us, we die. The cool thing is, right now specifically, is that we are actually on pace to get a PB/world record. So hyped for that. Let's hope we don't get anything bad happen again with this duck fight. So there's really one bad thing that happens in the duck fight, and that is when the duck does something like that, when the duck like jumps around, because that changes the physics a little bit, but it also just like can rip your arms apart and send you flying, and then you kind of have to restart the level over again and climb all the way back up the duck, and it's very inconvenient, and it's really tough to recover in a fashion that will keep you on the pace that you were at. So hopefully I don't fudge up this part again.
I mean, I think it just goes to show what my buddy Midnight always says: birds are jerks.
Yes, especially geese. And the lucky thing about this is that, oh, geez, okay. I fell a little too far. That's okay. We can just get back up here real quick. Yeah, birds are jerks. Okay, there we go. We're good. Yeah, the good thing about this, if you noticed, I didn't die when I went in the duck's mouth. So you can't get eaten by the duck and die, which is really, really nice. And so we are actually coming up on the end of this run very shortly. I'm gonna push in this last spear. That's not the end of the run, don't worry. But I am gonna push in this last spear, and then it'll be about 45 seconds until the end of the run. So the duck is gonna eat us. We're gonna go inside the duck and presumably destroy a kind of like weird consciousness or something that has been controlling the duck and all of the bad things that have been happening to us. I don't really know the story of this, but the name is Morpheus. So we're about to fight Morpheus. When we throw Morpheus in the acid to the top right, when Morpheus lands in the acid, that is time. So just whoever's timing, just get ready for that. That'll be happening in about, if all things go well, about 45 seconds. So there's that. Normally what you are supposed to do is you're supposed to pull Morpheus all the way down, and then those like mouth things that let you like detach your arm and grab onto them with your arm. Normally those would attach to his head, and you'd like detach your arms, attach them to the head, walk him up into the acid. So here comes time. And okay, let's see. And time. And there you go, folks. We ended day one with a world record. So there, that's 55 seconds. That beats the record by 55 seconds. So hype in chat there.
That's freaking awesome! Congratulations.
Yeah, so there we go. That's super exciting, actually. Yeah, ever since finding Agamemnus Skip, we kind of those complications that come afterwards have either made or break what happens. So there you go. Give you a world record at the very end. And for that, because I got the world record, I'll do $3 for each death that happened during that run instead of $1. So I'll triple what we got. Plus, I don't think we died very many times anyway, so I kind of have to make up for the lost money with just tripling that up. So that's
playing too well.
Yeah, I know. I was in the zone. I was feeling it. I guess I should do more runs at 2 a.m.
Yeah, right.
So I hope everybody enjoyed struggling. It's really fantastic. Like I said, if the game interested you in any way, I suggest you just check it out. It's a great co-op game. It's very fun on your own. It's very fun co-op. We would be more than happy to welcome you into the speedrunning community. And we just really enjoy having people around. Like I said, the devs really love it. You can come chat with the developers and see how they react to the speedrun. But outside of that, that's the game. The credits are gonna roll, and then it'll show how many deaths I have. But that's gonna take a little bit. If you want to wait for it, you can. Otherwise, my job here is done. I played the game and I got the record, which is super awesome. Actually, I was hoping that would happen, but I didn't know if it would for sure. So
well, since this is our last run of the night, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a little quick shout out about what's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah,
as
definitely.
we wait for this kill counter to come up. We got
sure.
some really awesome runs coming up tomorrow. We've got the Pokemon block where we've got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Red and Blue Rescue Team, and Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. We've got a Hello Kitty racing game coming up tomorrow. That's going to be exciting. We've got a lot of great old school games. We've got Super Mario Brothers, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Mega Man Legends 2, and Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. And to end that night off, we have Ori and the Will-O-Wisps randomizer run, which is going to be amazing. You definitely don't want to miss that. So go speed run, sleep, and be up and ready for tomorrow's run.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of good stuff. Sounds like a lot of good stuff coming up tomorrow. That's awesome. I'll be popping in and out throughout the day. That's for sure. Yeah, this has been awesome. I've been popping in and out all day today. I saw a little bit of Castlevania. That was not too long ago though, so of course that was part of what was keeping me up. But I don't even remember all the runs that I saw. The Crash Bandicoot one, I always love watching Crash Bandicoot. I always marvel at people speedrunning games I am terrible at casually. So that's always fun to watch.
It's a great way to get your childhood just absolutely destroyed when you're watching people just murder games that you struggled at for your entire childhood.
Yes.
I feel that way every time I watch a Battletoads run. Like, I legitimately didn't think this game was beatable.
Yeah. I know it's the tough games that people just make look very easy. So because we didn't push the party button, you didn't get to see the party, but that party that they were throwing, of course, is what allowed us to escape. So now they have, of course, put up the no party allowed sign in the lab. So that's your little end credits Easter egg scene that goes on there. And there's our duck. Presumably the metaphorical duck. That's what we think, even though it looks small. And of course, we're back, trapped in the lab, back in our home, with a good old patched up glass test tube. And so after this, we'll get back to the main screen and see how many deaths there were. So
what an amazing game! This game is really awesome. I'm definitely gonna have to go pick this one up and try it out myself.
It's a pretty great game. It's really fun. Like I said, it's fun co-op. It's fun one player. It's if you like the art style and you like the theme of it, you will really enjoy it. I know some people look at it and think it looks very off-putting, and to them, I understand that. So so I get it. But if it looks interesting to you, I highly recommend it. It's super fun. But there you go. In-game timer says 1:01. I don't know what does the official time say? Do we have what you guys got?
58:15 is what the official timer has.
Okay, right on. I got a 58:17, so that's about right. And there we are, 6 deaths. So we got $18 coming from me. Probably tomorrow morning when I'm awake and I don't accidentally hit like $1,800. I know the charity would appreciate that, but
the bank account less so.
Yes, but my bank account less so. So 6 deaths for anybody who wanted to do like 50 cents or $1, or match me and do $3. So there you go. That's struggling. Thank you for having me. This was a great time. I can't wait for all the runs that are coming up. I enjoyed all the ones that happened already. And yeah, I think this is a fantastic way to end out the night, at least for me personally.
Yeah, no, a world record. You can't do better than that for finishing up. And be sure to come back tomorrow for even more great runs. Thank you again so much, Rocky, for coming on and giving us this world record run.
Yeah.
And I am now ready to go speed run some sleep.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for even more speed runs. Have a good night, everybody.